Yes, hello and welcome everybody. It's Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, and I'm back again today with another one of my video presentation thingamadoodads. And as you can see on the screen there, what I'm going to talk about in this video today is the idea of learning to be a better Dice Masters player, and specifically about knowing what to work on. A couple of months back, I posted a video called 5 Things I'm Working On to Be a Better Dice Masters Player. And I suppose this is a bit of a follow-on to that, to kind of establish the steps I took prior to pinning down that short list of 5 to identify and be clear about the things that it was I wanted to work on in order to be a better player. And so, if you're a new player, you might find a few ideas in here that will help you out and set you up for a bit of success. Or even if you're a long-standing player, maybe there's a couple of things in here that will help you win a couple more games. But really, it's all about this idea of, if you want to be a better Dice Master player and you want to pin down a little bit of a list of things that you're going to develop to improve your game and have more competitive success, then there's this sort of bit beforehand where you're building in some clarity and understanding what it is you need to work on before you go ahead. Now, this is actually a little peek behind the curtain here. This is actually a concept that I use and talk about a great deal in my professional working life. This is real world Chris creeping into my nerd life Chris. So it would be a fair shout to say maybe I'm taking it a little bit too seriously. I hope you all will excuse this little flight of fancy and drawing from my professional life, inspiration from my professional life there. But, it's just something that's been on my mind. I've been thinking about it a great deal, and I thought I'd take a few minutes to share it with you on a video today. So that said, let me crack on and show you what I'm talking about. Now, in work, we call this the KSBs, knowledge, skills, and behaviours. And the idea is all about building in this clarity as to what type of thing it is I'm trying to develop in order to be clear and appropriate about the strategy I'm then putting in play to develop it. And we use these 3 buckets to help build that clarity in knowledge, skills, and behaviours. Now, the knowledge is pretty much what it says on the tin. You need to know something. There's some knowledge to acquire. How well do you know this stuff? And therefore, by breaking it down and understanding it in those terms, it helps you kind of inform the steps you need to take to backfill that knowledge gap. Skills is about the doing. That's about how you go about doing a thing. And the behaviour is about who you are and what you're demonstrating behaviourally around when you're doing the thing that you're doing. A lot of things and doings there. I'm hoping you get what I'm saying. Let me give you some examples. To try and illustrate what I mean. So knowledge, let's start there. So the best example in Dice Masters I can think of is kind of in terms of compartmentalising down to understanding the knowledge that's going to make you a better Dice Masters player is card knowledge. When you sit down at the table across from your opponent or through a screen with your opponent and you're looking across the team that they brought along, how well do you know the game text on the cards that you're looking at? How well do you know the interactions? Do you have enough knowledge about the communal elements that you might be able to make use of, like the basic actions and the globals? Are there rulings or kind of rules lawyery stuff that may trip you up if you don't know them that you do need to know? It's knowledge. It's just stuff to lock in, and it's a memory game really. Can you remember this stuff, and can you hold it in your head, and can you draw upon it when it comes to playing the game? Card knowledge can be super powerful and can really set you up for success if you know and understand at a glance what's about to be happening on the other side of the table. Because let's face facts, Dice Masters is a game with no secrets. It's all there at the beginning of the game for you to know and understand. Then you could be better placed to win the game because you can interfere with it or move faster than it or just basically get what's going down, Now, you might say, Chris, well, that's obvious. Come on, card knowledge, combo knowledge, card interaction knowledge, knowing your rulings, that's obviously going to set you up for success. And, I'll acknowledge that. I may be stating the obvious. And you may be there going, yeah, but how do you go about getting better at that? And, there's a couple of things that I've done to try and improve my card knowledge and try and improve the way that I can look across the table or through the screen and understand what's going down. The first is I've just exposed myself to as many opportunities to play the game as possible. That once I've been burnt by a thing that I didn't know, then I rarely, or I try not to. I was about to say I rarely get burnt by it again, but that would be a lie because I get burnt by the same things all the time. But you get what I mean. But there's something about exposing myself to as much opportunity to play as possible, and that through that play, I'm building the knowledge bank. And I found myself saying all the time, what's that one you got there? Which is that? Which version of that you're playing with? Can I read it? And then I read it, and then I don't really take it in, and I put it back on their side of the table, and then 5 turns later, they've done something with it. I'm like, oh, I get it now. That type of thing. So there's something about exposing yourself. And that's where online play can really be your friend, because one of the reasons I've managed to build my kind of knowledge bank around cards and interactions is by playing a lot online, because different people in different locations around the world with their local metas have been experimenting with different things or have slightly different twists on things that have helped me sort of grow my knowledge. I'll tell you something else I like to do. It's not uncommon for me to, when I'm sat in front of the telly at night, just flick through my binder. I like to soak up the artwork and look over my collection anyway, because that's what it's there to. It's there to be looked at and appreciated as a comic book fan. But also I'm looking out for game texts. I also use the Sidekick app on my phone a great deal. In fact, all of them, in addition to the Sidekick app, the Dice Coalition Team Builder and the Transition Zone, they have these great search functions where you can search by keywords or you can search by game text. So when I'm looking for a card and I'm looking for something to put in a team that services a particular function, before I go for the obvious, sometimes I'll do a little game text search and see what else is about and just sort of read up on a few cards and just help kind of grow my knowledge a little bit that way. So if I'm looking for something that's great when it gets KO'd, I might then, just drop the word when KO'd into the search function and just read what's about, just in case there's something I'm missing, or there's a card that I'm less aware of that I could use, but also specifically to help me out when I'm playing and I'm looking out across the table. So there you go. There's an example of what I mean by knowledge. And by knowing that it's my card knowledge, it's my interactions and combo understanding, I can then target and tailor the steps I take to improve that knowledge. Also, I'll tell you what else. Shameless plug time. One of the ways you can improve your knowledge is by listening to the Ministry of Dice podcast every 2 weeks on a Monday. We talk about cards, combos, interactions, what's popular in the meta all the time. Or you can read my articles on BritRoller6.com. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyway, there you go. So there's knowledge, and that's the best example I can think of to illustrate what I'm talking about there. Let's talk about skills then, the idea of doing, playing the game, the doing of it. What skills am I employing as I'm going about playing the game? And the best example to bring this idea to life that I can think of, and this is one I mentioned in my 5 things I'm trying to improve, is bag management. In fact, on the Ministry of Dice Facebook page recently, we did a survey asking players what the one thing they might have benefited from when they started out, what they might have benefited from knowing when they started out. And loads of people responded with bag management, understanding what to buy, when to buy it, and then how to get it through that dice bag cycle. So that it's there when you need it, doing what it needs to do. And this is just an excellent example of developing skills. What's your muscle memory around like this sort of stuff? What's your kind of reflexive response actions to allow you to draw upon skills and call upon these skills as and when you need them? The old 5 dice in the use pile technique, which everybody talks about a great deal. How good are you at managing that way through so that you've got the 5 dice to set you up for success in your games? That's a great example of a skill that is fundamental to the gameplay of Dice Masters that many of us really struggle to master. And by knowing that, by identifying that and looking at your gameplay and going, right, I am forever putting 6 dice in my bag and complaining about having 1 left. I keep saying that out aloud, so that's clearly a skill that I need to work on. And so then you focus and target your practice. Just keep playing 5 dice structures around. I'm rambling on. Bag management clearly isn't my thing. There's plenty of people out there that you might want to source that can give you better advice on that, but that's just the best example I can think of to illustrate this idea of kind of compartmentalizing and having clarity around what are the skills that I need to work on. Another example I'll give just very quickly, I've been toying around, tinkering about with the Drow Mercenary, but I keep finding in that dice cycle that I'm not churning very well, because I'll do 1 good hit and then it'll disappear into my use pile, and then it'll take ages to come back round again, and by the time it comes back round, my opponent's done their scary thing that's done me in before I've managed to do my 2nd good hit with the Drow Mercenary. So, there's a skill, there's a talent about being able to read the field and understand and manage the bag to get those things through. I felt like that was a bit rambly. Was that a bit rambly? Let me know in the comments below if it was. But I'm hoping you understand kind of where I'm coming from there. So is it a skill? Is it just something about the doing of the game? Is it about practice? Again, expose yourself to as much gameplay opportunities as you can so that skill can become locked in, become a bit of a muscle memory that you can do consciously, competently when you need to in order to set yourself up for success and win games. Okay, behaviours. I tell you what, folks, and I'll listen back to this in a minute. We've got a family of wood pigeons that have pitched up on our roof, and can you hear that? That's coming through the ceiling. I might edit this bit out. I might leave it in. I don't know. Is this good flavour? They're noisy. Anyway, so behaviour, talking about behaviour. So this is about how you go about playing the game. Knowledge is what you know about the game. Skills are the doing of the game. The behaviour is about how you go about playing the game. What is it that you're demonstrating? What do you say? How do you move and manoeuvre your way through the game? What's the behavioural things? And one of the best examples I can think about this is about tilt. You know, do you find yourself tilted? That's a lovely alt art card by our man Stuart there. That's available currently in the Ministry of Dice fundraising raffle as one of the prize cards, but it just perfectly demonstrates that table flipping tilt moment, you know. And behaviourally, do you let that get to you? Does that influence the way you go about playing the game? And therefore, the knowledge that you possess and the skills that you have, do they fall by the wayside because your behaviour then kind of dominates and takes over, and the sort of emotional response is actually informing how you go about playing the game rather than the logical, reasonable response of using the knowledge you own, that you possess, and using the skills that you possess? That's the best example I can think behaviourally, but there's loads of other things, you know, around what your behaviours are like how much attention you pay to what your opponent's doing in their turn. I've definitely seen that happening where people sort of drift off, or they're in their own little world on their side of the mat and not really paying enough attention to what's going on the other side. I've got a great example of tilt, actually, the Euro Championship. One of the things that I think, to my detriment, caught me out when it got to the top 8 was that I let the kind of tiredness and the length of the day go on, and then I was playing James Bloor in the top 8, and I just kind of tilted. I lost it. So there was a whole shriek thing going on, which is a card that tilts me anyway, and that I just kind of lost focus, and you know, the behavioural element just really affected my ability to go any further at that point in the competition, because I just let that shriek sonic beam tilt me and mess with my head, and then it was all about just getting rid of her, and I wasn't doing anything in my... Anyway, that's you know, I could go on about that for days, but behaviourally, you know, by trying to understand and recognise, is it something about the way I'm behaving during the way that I play that's influencing my ability to succeed and win more games? Is there things I can do to take steps to manage my way through that? You know, and this is all about state management then. It's all about kind of what are your techniques, you know, either psychologically to say to yourself, it's only a game, you know, how do you go about playing it for fun? Is the winning that important? You know, all that kind of stuff. Even to the lengths of, are there some sort of, you know, breathing exercises, some chill out stuff that I can do to help bring myself down so I'm not tilting, you know? And that's just one example of behaviour. There's another individual I know who just talks constantly all the way through their gameplay, and that's a reflection of that kind of nervous energy, and therefore their behaviour is kind of nervous and anxious, and they fill that void with talking, you know. So there you go, behaviour. So I'll wrap that one up there. Like I said, I'm perhaps taking it a little bit too seriously, but knowledge, skills and behaviour, is there something about kind of getting some clarity around what it is you actually need to work on to become a better player, and can, by breaking it down into these kind of 3 buckets, help you understand what the things are that you need to do in order to win more games? Is it acquiring some knowledge? Is it about practicing a skill? Or is it about working on your state of mind and your behavioural way of going about playing that's going to then set you up for success and win more games in the future? All right, well, there you go. There, just a few ideas. Like I say, I've plucked that one out of my professional life and cross-purposed it into Dice Masters. It was how I went about identifying that list of 5 things that I was working on to improve my gameplay. So let me know in the comments below. Useful hints, bobbins, am I chatting rubbish, or did you enjoy it? Whatever, let me know. Give us a thumbs up if you did like, give us a thumbs down if you didn't like, I suppose. On the right hand side of the screen now, there's going to be a couple of other videos that the YouTube algorithm thinks that you might enjoy watching, and I'll see you on a podcast, on a website, or on another video sometime soon. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye.